Hey everyone, welcome to the You is to You podcast. You are in for a huge treat today, my lovely listeners. I'm so excited to introduce you to Katie Crenshaw. Katie is a 30-something mom of three living in Atlanta. She started her popular blog in 2015 as a platform to share new perspectives and to build community. In 2016, her open letter to critics of her daughter's facial deformity went viral. This emotional piece reached audiences all over the world by way of Good Morning America, CNN, Inside Edition, and more. In 2019, she took her love for the human experience to new heights and launched an amazing podcast, If I'm Being Honest, with Cady Crenshaw. Her mission continues to be a voice for the voiceless by humanizing marginalized lifestyles and experiences. She unapologetically speaks her truth, colors outside the lines, believes in taking risks, and advocates for vulnerability. Katie maintains her unique voice with a consistent undercurrent of humor and authenticity. Her work has been featured in large publications such as Good Housekeeping, Red Book, and Cosmopolitan. She is an active content creator for Scary Mommy and the Huffington Post, and I can't speak. Katie, it's awesome to have you from one mom to another. You are such a badass. I'm so psyched you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. All right, let's just dive in. So can we take a few steps back? So just how you got started. You have a daughter, you said, with facial deformity, and you wrote a letter. How did that, tell us a little bit about that story and then kind of what you've created since then? It's amazing.
Yeah, so I was about 6 months into having my second daughter, which was 6 years after my first child. So I was out of practice. I started the blog as kind of a way to reintroduce myself to motherhood while keeping a creative outlet, because so much of my identity was in everything I've created over the years, like writing and photography. So about 6 months in, my daughter was about 6 months old. She was born with an infantile hemangioma. So a huge part of one side of her face is a birthmark, basically. And it was much more noticeable when she was a baby. So we got a lot of comments, everything from people thinking that I hurt her to, people that are just nosy and rude. I was just really surprised at how people in public have so many opinions. So
Yeah.
I wrote, I was like, well, I have this new blog. And I wrote this piece called What's Wrong with Her Face. And it was just all about, how I wished we could treat her and how I wish we could talk about it. And it wasn't just strangers. I was tired of even family just being so negative. We just feel so sorry for her. And I was just like, can we move on? Can we be happy for her for all the other things? And that included. So that was why I wrote it. And I guess it resonated with a lot of people who had children with all kinds of differences. And it quickly kind of went viral, as things do.
Yeah, I think just going back for a minute, when you allow public opinions to matter, that's where you can get really derailed. My daughter had to wear a helmet for 6 months. She had a torticollis, her neck, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember people were scared and stayed away. I'm like, she's human. What's going on? And I think what you did with that, with the reactions you were getting is so badass, so awesome. And good for you. I mean, I've been learning and doing this work. You can't take on what other people think of you and worry about it. It's not always easy though.
It's true. And sometimes I think my mission is to take it on for everybody who can't handle it. So sometimes I do still respond, and I do the open letters and I do the responding because I kind of feel like I'm advocating for the other people in the comments that are scared to advocate. So
yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit about, so you have a knack for writing and speaking and just, I think, getting into your podcast and how you kind of came up with that idea. I know you've had some incredible guests there about all kinds of topics. I connected with one of your guests who's actually been on mine now, Samantha, who's a psychic medium, but I know you've had a whole range. Can you talk a little bit, like, how did you get that idea? Talk a little bit about the kind of birthing of that.
Yeah. So with my blog over the last couple of years, I sort of fell into this mom blogger thing. And that's not ever been what I really wanted to be. I always actually tried to keep my branding very non-mom-ish because I just didn't want to be that. That wasn't even why I started my blog. My blog was to not be that. I am a mom and I understand that that is the season, but my purpose to me has always been just elsewhere. So I guess I've been in this kind of, I don't want to say rut because that hasn't been negative, but like I've just kind of been in this monotony of mom blogging and really needed a passion project that kind of served what I felt like my true purpose is. And I have always felt like that was some kind of advocacy or elevating other voices, things like that. So I just kind of tried my hand at a podcast, like literally didn't know anything. Like I just like Googled like what I need to buy. And I was worried my voice was going to be really annoying. And like, I didn't know if anybody was going to listen. Yeah. And I decided it would be cool to have a podcast where the theme is basically a different guest every week. Someone who has felt stigmatized or marginalized in a way that they want to be humanized, and just to let them tell their story so that people listening, the hope is that people listening could be like, oh, wow, like I never would have thought about that person in that light. So that's what I did. And so we did a season of 14 episodes. And we're breaking right now, but yeah.
Are there any, I don't know if you can share maybe one or two, just one that really touched you or that felt like, oh my gosh, this is like, most people don't know this or know the ins and outs of someone who might have this experience or background.
Oh gosh, all of them for sure. But I will say I've cried in every single interview.
Nice.
The hardest I cried.
Yeah, maybe the cry factor. What's the one you cried the hardest?
The most editing, like from one podcaster to another, the most editing out of sniffling I had to do was the I am a Muslim woman. I did that one a week after the New Zealand tragedy. And actually, short story, I found that guest through the Atlanta Moms group, which is huge because it's Atlanta. She had commented that day of New Zealand and just said, check on your Muslim friends. We're not okay. And I was like, why don't I have any Muslim friends, like close Muslim friends? Like, yeah. So I reached out to her and just said, I'm so sorry. And like, what can I do? And like, would you be open to talking on my podcast? So it turned out she actually does for a living education for the media and things like that on how to treat Islam in the media. And so that's like her thing. So I was like, this is amazing. So she came on the podcast, completely educated everybody on Islam. And I always think I'm pretty woke until I have an interview and then I learn all this stuff. So that one was just really emotional. And every single one was so informative. Every single one, I get messages where people are just like blown away. Still, the highest downloads to date are the sex worker podcast episode. Yeah, people are so curious. So people always write me after they listen to that one and they're like, I would have never humanized a sex worker. I would have never thought they would sound like me and like, she's just a mom. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I wanted to come out of it.
Wow. Yeah. I was going to say between what it's like to be Muslim and sex worker, but both, I mean, it's true. I think that is, it's really giving voices to the voiceless. And, I'm so glad you found someone to talk about really giving a sense of what is Islam, what is it to be Muslim, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception. It's scary.
Oh yeah. Even among people like that think that they know a lot. So, I mean, just so true.
Yeah. No, I love that you're doing this. I'm so curious because with the success you're having and all of the impact you're making, you have kiddos.
Can you hear them?
No, I can't hear them, but I mean, okay. I love all your posting and I'm like, girl, how you doing it? How are you? And I know you're married, you got, that, like, seriously, from another mom, from one to another, how do you, what keeps you grounded? Like, how do you manage all that?
Well, I will say having a supportive partner is a huge part of the battle. My husband is, we have a very, very equal relationship. He understands the demands of my job. He really respects my passions and our differences and our strengths. And he really supports everything I feel like I need to do for my identity, which I'm really big on being very important for moms to still have a really strong pillar of what makes them outside of a mom. That's huge for me, his help. And honestly, just everything that people don't want to say, I guess, like hiring help when I can and, just
Yeah.
surviving. And I mean, it's important to me not to let go all of these things that I love. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to survive and make it all work. And there's no such thing as balance. And so knowing that, I don't have very high expectations. Then
That's awesome.
I'm always surprised and I'm always happy.
That's so great. I think everyone should take note of that. If you're listening, don't have expectations. And
Just don't.
I agree with you, the whole balance thing. I mean, it's a word, it's kind of like, how do you juggle? I agree with you. I don't think it exists. And, you were saying kind of like in this, like, well, I sometimes hire. I think it's brilliant to hire and outsource when you can, whatever you can, so you can be the best at, entrepreneur you, writing you, mom you, like, that's smart.
Especially when your livelihood is creativity. It's
Yeah.
hard to be creative when kids are fighting on top of you. It's not like I'm doing, like data entry. Like I have to actually think, and
Yeah.
that's hard. So
Yeah, totally. Can you tell us a little bit about you, Katie? Like, I don't know, growing up, did you ever think this was going to be what you were doing? The idea of this is, the you is to you. It's like each of us has that authentic, sacred calling. And just curious if, like, is this what you saw for yourself? And how are you kind of moving more and more into what you feel is your you is to you?
definitely in my adult life, I realized that I kind of had a pattern of the rug getting pulled out from under me, not like not in a victim way, but I just felt like I always did things and then they never went according to plan. So I just like picked up and started over. And I was very good at being resilient and moving forward.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I always hold on. Sorry.
It's all good.
Jerked my cord out.
Yep.
So I always felt like I was more of just a survivor. So I don't know. I just always felt like my stories, every time I made a mistake, I was open and honest about it and I shared it and it helped someone along the way on a smaller scale before now. But so I've just kind of always known that my mistakes were helping other people. And I've never been a private person. I've always been very open about every single thing, like even the controversial stuff. So I would say that it's continued to evolve on a much larger scale.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, it's sometimes fun to like trace it back. So it sounds like for you, being open and having a voice, like that's always been really important to you. That's a value for you.
Definitely. And I've always been like trying to go do protest marches and stuff since I was like 17. I mean, I did do them. And so like, I've always
Awesome.
just been an advocate by nature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, you got to join me. I'm in the DC area. We got those like every weekend.
I know, right?
All the time. Yeah, I mean, without like getting too into politics or state of the world, I am curious because you have opinions and you're educated, smart lady. Like what do you feel can we do for those listening who want to be more empowered in their life or in our country? I mean, I think you alluded to it in a lot of what you do with your podcast, interviewing people that we wouldn't necessarily know or know their stories. But like, what motivates you? What things can you recommend to people listening that are like, I would like to feel more empowered in my life right now, in this country, in my life, in my work, in my world?
So I think for anyone, kind of what you were saying, like tracing it back to what makes you you, what fires you up, like regardless of money, regardless of all those things, like what is it that really makes you happy? That's kind of like exactly where I went when I decided to start the podcast. I was like, I need something, what excites me, like what do I want to do? So like just drilling down on a really basic level and figuring out kind of what your gifts are. And honestly, the best way I empower myself, I don't know if this is like really selfish or just human nature, but I've heard it over and over again that doing for other people always fulfills another human. Like elevating other people will always bring you empowerment and fulfillment. It should, anyway.
Yeah, seriously. Well said. I think that's brilliant.
I think I stole that from Jen Sincero. I'm like, where did I steal that?
Oh, that's so funny. That's funny. She might have had that in there. Maybe like craft a little different. I love her. I know she's awesome. She is truly a badass and has helped so many of us to be a badass in money and life and all of it. She's awesome. What I'm curious just in terms of like going forward and thinking about how you want to expand and make a difference, maybe leave a legacy. Like, what does that look like for you, Katie? What the next year, 5 years, like what is it that you feel you're kind of here to do and you want to be doing to make a difference?
It's funny. I'm so weird. And I think about things all the time, like, what would people say at my funeral? And if I died, like, what would people like stand around and talk about? So like, I literally think about this all the time. And I actually think that's a brilliant way to like make plans. Cause you're like, what are people going to say? So, I actually just signed on with an editor to start writing a book.
Yay!
So that's really exciting. We actually just kind of narrowed down the style of book that we're going to do. And it's going to be basically a memoir. I have so many crazy stories that haven't even had time to come up on my blog yet. So it's going to be subtly self-help, but only through reading my stories. So it's not like I'm telling people what to do, but it's going to be like me. You know, if you've read any of my writing, it's going to be dry and kind of funny and probably sad and like all the things. But I'm really excited about that because I feel like that's going to encompass the big umbrella picture of my life so far. And yeah, I just feel like this year, everything with the book and the podcast and so many great human connections I'm making this year, like it all just feels like it's coming together. Like, I put on my vision board in January this piece out of a magazine, and it just says, I am her voice. And it's text that says, I am her voice. And I just like, every day I'm like, that's what I'm doing. Like, that's what I'm definitely doing. So
I love it. You so are. No, it's awesome. One of my questions for you is also around kind of being her voice. One of the things I love about you. And so I openly talked about struggling with eating, food addiction, body image, like all that lovely, all that shit and all those things. And one of the things I've noticed just you're posting and talking and so openly about just being that potty, we have kids.
Mom life.
I know I'm like mom life potty, body positive, just shifting the whole conversation around what it means to be body positive and have these photos that are like raw and beautiful and real. I mean, I just, I'm like, props to you. I love what you post. I love what you share. And it's always like, someday I'm going to lift my shirt and show my mom belly. I haven't done that yet. Maybe after the podcast. Maybe, I don't know. I love, can you say a little bit about that whole arena? Because I think that is something that is often wasn't talked about more as now, but we honestly, what I think happens is we see these moms, especially those out of Hollywood that come out like maybe went in a size 0, come out a size 0 plus, and you think, okay, that didn't happen to me. I never started at 0 anyhow. But it's just not realistic. It's not true.
Yeah. And that's naturally those stories are going to come out in the media because they're proud of those stories. So the ones that stay in the shadows are people who are struggling typically. I started about a year ago really becoming more vocal with the body positivity stuff. I was invited to do a social media loop with several women about postpartum bodies. And that was my most engaged photo to date. And so then I thought, people want to see this. Like, this is something. Like, for some reason, people are latching onto this. So then I did like another one, and then another one. And so I just kept doing them and talking about it more. And every single time, like, if you look at my analytics, like, those are all my highest engaged posts, because women just really crave something relatable. Even if they don't look exactly like me, they just want something relatable, because in standard marketing and in the media, outside of social media, it's still all models, it's still retouched, it's still all that. And I think the tides are turning a little bit, and there's some big brands like really taking a stand, but for the most part, social media is where women are looking for reality. And I kind of feel like it's our responsibility as influencers to show that vulnerability. Can you hear that?
Only a little bit. I think it's awesome because it's real. Kids playing, fighting in the back. It's all good. It's all good, girl. Yep. Just take a deep breath. It's all good. If you're watching this on YouTube, Katie's smiling, like clenching her teeth.
Yeah. I'm like, why did he let her run all the way up here? Okay. Yeah. So I'm just keeping on doing it, and people ask me all the time, how are you so body positive? Like, I'm not that confident. How do you do it? And I am the first person to tell you that I don't feel like that every day. I don't wake up and love my body. Even maybe 50% of the time. The only thing I do that you don't do is I keep showing up because I want it to be a habit. And that is the biggest key to my success, is that I just keep doing it anyway. I just keep posting the photos anyway. I just keep going to the pool anyway, and it just gets easier every time.
Damn, that is a drop the mic moment. Seriously, that's so wise. It's funny, when I've talked openly about struggling with food and recovery with food addiction, like eating on the trash, binging, that whole world. And I did a lot of support groups around that. And we talked a lot about, it's just a lot of the time it's showing up. It's showing up when you don't want to. It's being, it's showing up for life. It's showing up for the uncomfortable. And I love that you said that, because you really are doing that. And whether or not you're comfortable, it's just making a huge impact. I mean, I'm not surprised that your analytics are the highest for those photos. I don't know, maybe you have some wisdom for women that are struggling, postpartum or not. Are there ways that I know I've got my weird ways, but I wonder if there are things that you've done or things that you do just to kind of honor who you are, where you are, whatever's showing up in your body.
Well, the first thing that I've tried to keep a focus on, especially with my audience, is focusing on what our bodies do and less about what they look like, it's really hard, and we're not going to be able to change the state of commercialism overnight. Like everything is geared around changing women's bodies and faces and everything. And so it's hard to ignore it. I highly recommend, we all spend a lot of time on social media. I highly recommend filtering what your intake is on social media. Make sure you're following people that are empowering. You're not following a bunch of diet culture Instagram feeds and people that are unrealistic. Like, I've really trimmed mine down. I only follow like 300 people because I was lost in so many crazy things. So that's important. Making sure that this is for everything, but making sure your network is supportive. It breaks my heart how many women are struggling so hard because their husband's not supporting them, or their friends are not supporting them, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, get a new husband. Like, that's not okay. Like, it's just not okay. And, I don't even want to say I'm lucky, because like your husband should be supportive of your journey. So I think that's crucial also. But right now I just started a hashtag her body can, and I invited all women on Instagram, not just bloggers, to join in, skin or no skin. I mean, naked or full burqa, whatever. and just talk about what your body has accomplished, like not what it looks like. And I'm gonna cry. Like, I just started it like 2 days ago, and so many women are joining in, and they're just listing, like, you know, marathon, addiction, babies, like moms or not, like just everybody, what is your body like taking you through?
Yeah.
And that's just something I think everybody can relate to. And it just takes the focus off what we look like for a minute. Like, well, what do we do? What did we get through?
Oh my God, I love you. I love this. I love, like, I feel like I'm about to cry / like want to high five you through the
I've been
computer.
crying over that hashtag for like 2 days. So
Yeah.
I keep looking at it and being like, oh.
This is so big. It's not even funny how big this is, you know, and we could go into the whole realm around kind of switching gears from what's been a very masculine patriarchal world to more of adding more of that feminine, the collaboration, community, connection, receiving, loving. Like, I just feel like what you're doing is focusing more on that and balancing it out. It's a huge area for me of interest. And, you know, it's interesting. I used to do commercial modeling, and as I said, I'm not a size 0. And the funny thing is, the only times I got cast was when what I heard was, oh, you're very real. You look like, you know, I was like, all right, well, if you think I'm so real, then fine, I'll still do the shoot. Like, it's fine with me. I mean, but I remember thinking, like, that sucks. You're kind of telling me you don't fit into the rest of the couture modeling, but we like how you're so, real. And
yeah.
yeah. And now I'm like, yep, I am real. Thank you very much. Yep. I'm as real as you get. So I love that I love this hashtag, the Her Body Can.
I actually, you know, I've done a few other loops where we had a hashtag or whatever to follow, but this was just kind of off the cuff. I just, you know, I posted a caption about what my body did, and it had such a good big response that, so actually I had gotten comments on some viral stuff where people were like, what does she mean this is postpartum? Like, this is not postpartum. Like, this is eating too much, or like, this is, you know, a baby didn't do this to her body and whatever.
Wow.
And so my caption was like, you know what? You are so right. Like, this is not postpartum. This is anxiety and depression. This is 33 years of meals with my best friends. This is, you know, this is all of this. This is addiction. This is abortion. This is all of this, and 3 babies. Like, I am a life well lived and loved. And
wow.
I'm not just a mom. So you're right. It's not just postpartum. And that post garnered so much response that I was like, hey guys, I'm starting a hashtag. Like, let's talk about what our bodies have done our whole lives, and mom or not, whatever. And then everybody started posting, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are doing it. And then I was sharing them all, and now there's like too many for me to share. And I'm like, oh my God. But I just love it because everybody's like, I mean, people, you know, these are just people, not bloggers or anything. And they're just doing it. And like you said, that vulnerability, that human connection is what makes us strong. And it's just, I just can't stop crying. So
it's a good meter. I think the more we cry, and again, like, that's a great thing, right? For so long, I know for me, I couldn't cry. I tried to push it down, stuff it down. For me, I use food to deal with crying. I'm like, I don't want to cry. And now it's like, great. Like, the more we cry, and I think that's a great, I'm going to use that. That's like my new meter. If I cry, that we know. I'm
not a crier. I'm not, like, by nature.
Which says even more that you really hit something. Yeah. That's even, well, I think this platform and what you're talking about around this body positivity, but especially focusing on what our body can do. One of the things, I don't know if you remember the late Louise Hay. She's one of the kind of grandmothers of personal development. I love her. She like raised me with her voice in her books. I'm not even kidding. I was that like dorky girl that had the poster that said, I am me, I am okay, at like 9 years old.
Yeah, that's amazing.
like Louise Hay quotes. And she does a lot. And I've taught this, and I'm guessing you probably do this a lot with mirror work, like looking in the mirror and really, you know, and I've worked with women who are like, I can't even do it I can't look at myself. I said, okay, focus then on your friggin' eyes, on the mouth that's been breathing. Like, let's stop looking and rating, you know, what this arm looks like, our stomach looks like. And trust me, I've been there. It's like, let's really look at what we have that has freaking like created this life and allowed us to breathe and be present, which relates to what you're doing. So, oh my gosh, just love all the things, Katie. So aside from your book, is there anything else just fun to share that you're working on? I mean, not that you got a lot going on, but any other? Yeah.
No, I'm just, I'm hoping to kind of continue, this vulnerability mission, and book and the podcast is going to pick back up next week. I had to take a break from that to kind of get all my ducks in a row, and get some guests lined up, because those guests are really important to me, and I'm really honored that they trust me with these stories, and I just felt like I needed a break. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but that's definitely the direction that I'm going in.
So awesome. I think something you're pointing to is the power of being real and being vulnerable and sharing. And just what you're saying, what's gone viral has been when you've really allowed yourself literally to lift the curtain, lift the shirt, whatever it is you're lifting.
Yes. All of the lifting.
All of the lifting. Yeah.
Just as freeing and therapeutic for me as it has been for anybody else.
That's beautiful. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna stay in touch, and yeah. We'll do it on the book, and I'm so excited for you. I'm actually with you. I'm very, very mindful of who I follow, what I follow. I do not have anything in my feed, frankly, that if I look at it for 1 second, it needs to either, if it doesn't uplift me or if it's not a full yes in my body, then I just lovingly release that person and that feed. And you're one of the ones, along with my sister, who has some amazing posts as well. But I love reading what you share. I love the dry sense of humor. I love your you. You're being so real, and it's inspiring. And I think we just need more women like this. So that's one of the reasons I was like, we gotta chat and be able to share you, because it's needed, this vulnerability. And I think acceptance, self-love, and just being like, hey, this is, we're here to support one another, which you really, I know you're about that community and uplifting, which is just so important.
Yeah. In the beginning of my podcast, and when I introduced it, I said that I firmly believe that people cannot hurt you with your truth. And that is kind of a foundational thing that has always been true for me. So, hiding things and lying about things can always hurt you, but your truth will never hurt you, to me. So I think it's only positive to tell your story.
That's fantastic. I love it. The truth can never hurt you. So well said. All right. We're going to have all your info in the show notes. I have loved being in your field of good vibes, and just, you're an inspiration, lady. I'm so grateful that we got to do this.
Me too.
Yay.
I'll find a reason to come to DC.
You got to come to DC. You got to come to DC and visit. I just want to thank you. You're awesome. And for everyone listening, we'll make sure to have all your info so that people they don't already know you, they can find you, find your work, your writings. We'll have maybe part 2 about your book. And just, I'm so grateful. From one entrepreneurial mama to another, we need more of you. And you're just awesome.
I agree. Thank you so much.